Good evening, football fans. Welcome to this weekend's Premier League Roundup on JK Sports Network. I'm your host, JK, and joining me today are our expert analysts, Sofia and Marc. We've witnessed some pivotal moments this weekend. Liverpool inching closer to the title, Arsenal's commanding performance, and Leicester's relegation.
Thanks, JK. What a weekend. Goals, drama, and some real shockers. Can't wait to dive in.
Absolutely. We saw some tactical masterclasses, but also a few teams struggling to find their rhythm. Lots to unpack.
Let's dive into the action of Saturday, 19th April 2026. Let's begin at the Gatek, where Brentford came alive again. A 4-2 victory over Brighton that keeps their European dreams flickering. Sofia, Brian Mbumo, your thoughts?
He was sensational, JK. That opening goal was sheer determination and quality. Bulldozing through the centre-backs, then picking out the far corner with precision. But it was his second goal that really stood out for me. Great vision and a cool, curled finish with his left. He's the heartbeat of Brentford's attacking game.
Brentford looked hungry again, and that's huge for Thomas Frank. They hadn't won at home in 4 months, but today they looked like a team with purpose. Brighton? Honestly, they were second best. The Pedro red card was brainless and costly.
Speaking of that red, Marc, fair call?
VR got it right. It was petulant, it was violent conduct. You can't lash out like that, not in front of cameras and officials. That turned the tide firmly in Brentford's favour.
I also want to mention Wissa, goal, assist, involved in nearly every meaningful attack. And a word for Norgard too, to finish it off with a late header after all the chaos. Big win.
And a somber note, we hope for positive news on Van Hecke after that collision. Scary scenes laid on. From a goal fest to a grind, Palace and Bournemouth couldn't find the net at Selhurst Park, but that doesn't mean it lacked drama.
Not at all. 9 yellows and a red. Chris Richards sent off in a really controversial moment, and Palace were rightly aggrieved. They felt Scott should have gone earlier, and then Richards sees red for what many would call a soft second yellow.
Exactly. The inconsistency drives players and fans mad. That said, Bournemouth will feel this was 2 points dropped. They had the man advantage, they had the chances, and they just couldn't capitalize. And if they're dreaming of Europe, that's the kind of match they have to win.
Credit to Dean Henderson in the Palace goal. Made 3 solid saves, including one low down to deny Ouattara.
And Glasner deserves credit too. Tactically adjusted well after the red, sacrificing flair for shape and discipline. Held firm.
Now let's talk about Manchester City's late show at Goodison. For 83 minutes, Everton frustrated them. Then, 2 goals, job done.
They weren't convincing, far from it. But champions get it done when it matters. O'Reilly, 20 years old, just his 3rd appearance, pops up with the breakthrough. That's what Pep sees in these youngsters.
But let's not sugarcoat it. City were poor for large stretches. Disjointed, slow in transition, lacking that sharpness we usually associate with them. De Bruyne floated around, tried to make things happen, but it was individual effort, not team cohesion.
Everton could have taken the lead too. Tarkowski hit the post and Pickford kept them in it for most of the game.
Keane's error for the first goal was key. His rush showed. First game in months, and he lost his marker.
Still, a win is a win. And with Chelsea lurking just behind, that gap is now 4 points. City breathe a little easier. To the London Stadium, where Southampton earned a rare point, and, well, a bit of infamy too. They now officially match Derby's 11-point record from 2007 to 2008. But honestly, this 1-1 draw might just be their best moment of the season.
It was pure chaos at the end. Leslie Ugochukwu, on loan from Chelsea, thundering it home through a sea of legs. You'd think they'd just won the league, the way the away end erupted.
West Ham, though. What is going on under Graham Potter? Zero tempo, no urgency, just a complete lack of identity, and they've actually regressed compared to Lopeteguy's spell.
Bowen's goal was a brief highlight and Fulkrug thought he had another, but that one was rightly disallowed for a foul.
And let's not forget, Southampton hit the bar earlier and looked like the more determined side for long periods. Embarrassing for West Ham.
And finally, the statement win of the day. Aston Villa 4, Newcastle 1. And what a response from Unai Emery's side after their Champions League heartbreak.
Ollie Watkins again, instant impact, goal after 33 seconds. He led from the front, tortured Newcastle's backline all game.
And credit to Emery, rotated 4 players from the PSG game, brought energy back into the team. His subs, game changers. Ramsey and Onana both score within minutes of coming on.
Newcastle, meanwhile, sluggish, second to every ball, and Schär was incredibly lucky to still be on the pitch after dragging down Watkins.
They were flat, no intensity, no rhythm, and this was a team coming off 6 straight wins. Huge reality check.
So that's your Premier League Saturday wrapped up. Brentford flying, Villa roaring, City surviving, Palace hanging in, and Southampton making unlikely history. Sofia, Marc, always a pleasure having you both. Final thoughts?
This title race and European chase are going down to the wire. We're in for a thrilling run-in.
And at the bottom, still plenty of stories to be written. Today was proof. Anything can happen.
Let us dive into the Sunday, April 20th matches, and what a gripping day of Premier League football we've just witnessed.
Hi, JK. It really was dramatic. We had late winners, relegation confirmed, title hopes extended, and even some off-the-pitch tension boiling over.
Absolutely. The stakes couldn't be higher at this stage of the season. Every goal, every substitution, every referee decision feels seismic. And today, we saw just how much can change in 90 minutes. Let's dive right into it.
First stop, Craven Cottage. Chelsea pulled off a dramatic late comeback to beat Fulham 2-1. Pedro Neto was the hero, smashing in a stoppage-time winner that could prove pivotal in the race for the top 4.
You could feel the tension on the Chelsea bench all afternoon, and rightly so. Fulham took the lead through Alex Iwobi, who capitalised on a sloppy turnover by Reece James. That left-footed strike from the edge of the box was precise and punished Chelsea's hesitant start.
It was more than just hesitation. It looked like the weight of the season was on their shoulders. Confidence was low. Jackson missed 2 good chances. You'd expect a top-tier striker to convert at least one of those. The service was there. Neto was delivering, but Jackson wasn't sharp.
Enzo Maresca made some bold changes at halftime. Sancho came on, later Malo Gusto, and eventually 19-year-old Tyreek George. Sofia, you called it. George's entrance shifted the energy.
It really did. He scored with a beautiful half-volley to open his Premier League account. Talk about seizing your moment. Then, with momentum building, Neto delivered a sensational finish. On the half-turn, edge of the box, bang. That's why they spent big on him in the summer.
Credit to Maresca. He's under fire, but he got his subs right today. Chelsea now edge ahead of Nottingham Forest on goal difference. Still work to do, but a huge result.
Next to Portman Road. Arsenal made a statement with a 4-1 demolition of 10-man Ipswich. It may not keep them in the title race for long, but it certainly delays the champagne popping on Merseyside.
This was vintage Arsenal, JK. Trossard was electric. 2 goals, 1 assist. They came out flying, and Ipswich just couldn't live with the pace and movement, especially down Arsenal's right.
And let's talk about that red card. Leif Davis, late on Saka, studs showing. No complaints about the decision for me. That moment killed Ipswich's hopes of any sort of comeback. Once they went down to 10, Arsenal cruised.
Saka's injury did cast a bit of a shadow, didn't it? He was subbed off early second half with an ice pack around his ankle. Could be precautionary, but Arteta will be sweating ahead of the PSG clash in 9 days.
Yes, you can't afford to lose a player like Saka before a Champions League semi-final. But even with him off, Arsenal had more than enough. Nwaneri's goal, just 17 years old, another exciting glimpse of the future.
And let's not forget, had Arsenal lost, Liverpool would be champions today. So in many ways, this result wasn't just about pride, it was about keeping the pressure, however slim, on.
Now to Old Trafford, where United's Europa League joy turned into Premier League despair. Wolves left with all 3 points thanks to a sublime free kick from Pablo Sarabia.
United were sluggish. You could see the Thursday night fatigue. Wolves didn't create much, but they were organised and patient. Sarabia's free kick, his first touch by the way, was top class.
It's a damning stat for United 15 league losses this season, their worst ever in the Premier League era. That's a staggering number. And there's unrest in the stands, fans protesting about premium seating, and banners aimed at Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It's not just on the pitch where issues lie.
Ruben Amorim rotated heavily, perhaps understandably, but the result is the same. Another game where United created little and failed to impose themselves. Wolves, meanwhile, have now won 5 in a row. First league double over United since 1980. Vitor Pereira deserves massive credit.
And now to Leicester, where history was made, just not the kind the Foxes hoped for. Liverpool won 1-0 thanks to Trent Alexander-Arnold's 76th minute strike, and Leicester are officially relegated.
There were signs of life from Leicester early on. Ndidi hit the post and Salah missed 3 big chances. But the pressure from Liverpool just kept building.
Leicester fans had seen it coming for weeks, months even. They haven't scored at home since early December, and today it showed again. They held firm for 75 minutes, but once the dam broke, it was over.
The image of Salah and Jota hitting the woodwork and then Trent, just back from injury, rifling it home, was fitting. He's a player with deep Liverpool roots, and he might have just sent them to the brink of a 20th title.
So here we are. Liverpool edged closer to securing the Premier League title with a narrow 1-0 victory over Leicester City. Trent Alexander-Arnold's 76th minute strike sealed the win, leaving Liverpool needing just 1 more point to clinch the title. The moment they didn't get in 2020 due to COVID, they might finally have. However, Arsenal's commanding 4-0 win over Ipswich Town kept the title race mathematically alive.
At the bottom, Leicester City's defeat confirmed their relegation to the Championship, marking a disappointing end to their Premier League campaign. Ipswich Town remains on the brink of relegation with just 21 points and a challenging path ahead.
Chelsea boosted their Champions League aspirations with a dramatic 2-1 comeback win over Fulham, moving up to 5th place with 57 points. Manchester City also strengthened their top 4 bid with a 2-0 victory over Everton, scoring twice in the final minutes to secure the win.
Liverpool's resilience is commendable. Despite the pressure, they delivered when it mattered most. Alexander-Arnold's return from injury was pivotal.
Arsenal's performance against Ipswich was clinical. They showcased their depth and quality, keeping the pressure on Liverpool.
Indeed, the title race is intensifying. As we approach the final stretch, every point counts. Let's see how the teams respond in the upcoming fixtures. That wraps up our Premier League weekend review. Stay tuned for more updates and analyses here on the JK Sports Network. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, your channel, JK Sports Network.